welcome to another Tuesday Talk with Adrienne. I'm Adrienne. I'm a competent woman. I am the president and CEO of Women for Sobriety Incorporated, and this is Tuesday Talks, where we just talk for a few minutes about an aspect of the WFS New Life program, take a little bit of a deeper dive into some of the concepts. So today we are talking about Statement 6. And Statement 6 says that life can be ordinary or it can be great. Greatness is mine by conscious effort. So every time I do this, I try to give a little history lesson on the evolution of the statements. And this one, like last time was our first one where there had been no changes to the statement ever. And this one is the same way. So number 6 has never been changed. The thought action is exactly as it was at first publishing. So I guess that speaks to the power of this statement. It's pretty great. This is one of my favorite statements because I think the thought action that greatness is mine by conscious effort really gave me a lot of hope early on when I first joined the program, because I was pretty beat down, as most of us are, when I first joined WFS. And this idea that I could create greatness in my life, that there was things that I could do to consciously create a positive life, was really pretty revolutionary to me. And I know it may seem fairly obvious to some people, but I just thought other people had good lives, and it was kind of my crutch to bear that I would not have a great life. So the idea that I could cultivate this myself was pretty revolutionary and pretty attractive to me. So what does this statement really say? So life can be ordinary or it can be great. So let's break that down first just a little bit, right? And I think what I really get out of the statement is that the ordinary can be great, right? It's not that every day we're going to graduate from college, or our dog's going to have puppies, or all these great things. It's that we can choose for each small moment in time to be great, or we can just kind of write it off as ordinary. And it's really about our mindset. So one thing I was reflecting on today, as I was thinking about this talk, was when I first moved to Quakertown to work for Women for Sobriety. And I grew up in Washington State, in the Seattle area. It's pretty gray. It's pretty rainy. So on the mornings where I would wake up and it would be gray and rainy outside in Pennsylvania, I would get this like warm feeling in my heart. And I would go to work and I'd be like, oh, it's a great day, isn't it? And they'd look at me, and the other two women in the office, like, what are you talking about? Like, it's gray, it's rainy, it's gross. But for me, it reminded me of home, and it was just a super positive thing for me, and just made me feel warm and fuzzy. So, same day, same circumstances, same weather, two completely different experiences of it. So that is like truly the embodiment for me of life can be ordinary or it can be great, right? I can choose the way I'm going to look at things. I see some people are joining us on their phones because their internet is out. So thank you very much for still joining us. I know there's some storms going on out there right now. So, all right. So life can be ordinary. It can be great. How can we put this into practice? And one tool that I don't know that we've talked about before is a random reminder app. So one that I used to use, it was called Randomly Remind Me. And you could set time periods, like quiet time periods, if you didn't want it to go off during a meeting or whatever. but it would just like literally randomly, like maybe every 2 minutes, maybe in 2 minutes, and then the next time it would be 20 minutes, would send you a little notification. And you can program in the notifications, or you can just get a generic one. And uh, a really good tool for learning to recognize the greatness of everyday moments is to get an app like that on your phone, program it to just go off randomly, either throughout the day or in the evening when you're not at work, um, or during the day when you're not at work, depending on what shift you work. And just practice getting that ding or whatever the notification sound is, and taking a pause in whatever you're doing and asking yourself, what is great about right now? What is great about this very moment? And there are times where that's going to be a lot more difficult than others, I can admit. Um, but learning to practice that, right? There's almost always something great. Today we were going over a bunch of financial paperwork. I'm not very fond of financial paperwork, but and it was a really long form. But I noticed I was nice and warm and toasty. And my new office is, I'm kind of in the sunroom, which in Washington State, sunrooms are kind of like that, right? I've been struggling with making sure the temperature is just right. And I noticed like I was feeling warm and cozy. And just that that moment of, oh, I'm warm and cozy, even though I'm looking at financial paperwork and crunching numbers, I'm feeling warm and cozy, and oh, I finally worked out this heat situation, and so that moment was great in that way. So even when we're not doing a big wedding or all these big moments in life, we can still take a moment to appreciate what's great about the moment that we are in. So that's a really good tip for learning to really practice this statement. Another one is when you're coming up against a difficult task, really thinking, what are the positives that are going to come out of this? So last week, we had an election in the United States, and there was not a lot of certainty that anything would be decided that night, right? Which we're not always used to. Usually an election, especially a presidential election, we have the results that night. We know when we wake up what is happening. But we really didn't last week, and we didn't expect to know for at least a few days, and we didn't know for at least a few days. And um, I remember just thinking, like, this is really difficult. This is really difficult to sit with that uncertainty and to not know. And so I decided to do our pop-up meditation, which went really well. I got a lot out of it. And I had to ask myself, well, what are the gifts of this uncertainty, right? What can I learn from this? What are the positives? What am I going to gain by sitting with this uncertainty tonight? And we I was able to identify some gifts. We're able to show courage in moments of uncertainty. I don't remember what any of the other ones were, but we're able to practice patience in moments of uncertainty. We're able to practice peace and holding ourselves steady in these moments of uncertainty. And, we are really very free during a moment of uncertainty, because the very nature of uncertainty could go either way, right? It could go any way. So there's a lot of freedom in uncertainty. So part of statement number 6 for me is learning, even in the not so ordinary moments, maybe in the uncomfortable moments, what can I get out of that? What could be the positive? How can I grow from that? And that's really part of practicing statement 6 for me. And then the last little tidbit I have for you tonight for statement 6 and practicing statement 6, I often think of number 6 as kind of my long-term goal statement. So statement 11 is fairly close to statement 6. 11 says enthusiasm is my daily exercise. So I really think of that as like my daily, everyday kind of thing. And then a lot of the time when I think of 6, I think of long term, right? How am I creating greatness in the long term in my recovery? And so for that, I really use goal setting. And this is, something that Jean talked a lot about. It was kind of her relapse prevention method was setting goals. And I've always thought of it as, at least when you're moving forward, if you fall down, you fall forward. You don't fall back, right? So goals for me is all about continuing to have something to work towards and moving forward. And so a few tips for setting goals in recovery, because sometimes they can feel really overwhelming. And I know there's this idea about future tripping and anxiety, worrying too much about the future, or getting too connected to an outcome. That's another thing that can often be very difficult about goal setting, right? Is if I don't meet my goals, then I'm a failure, or I might have a lot of negative self-cognitions about that. So some things to do for goal setting, for healthy goal setting in recovery, that I like to think about is having some long-term goals and some short-term goals, right? Long-term goals are great. When I was first getting sober, I was going to school and I wanted to be a counselor, and I was working towards that. But short term, like I wanted to get a year sobriety so I could be a WFS certified moderator and run a group. So I had a more short-term goal, which was get to a year, start another meeting in Seattle. And then I also had my long-term goal, which was go back to school, finish up college, get some training in counseling, and then become a counselor. So I was able to kind of accomplish that shorter term goal more quickly and have that positive reinforcement of me and my ability to change, um, and and uh, and use that as encouragement to continue to work towards my long-term goals. And then also breaking down the long-term goals into smaller chunks. So if even so my becoming a facilitator, a volunteer facilitator for WFS was not really part of becoming a professional counselor. So they were two different things. So when I thought about becoming a professional counselor, it was okay, well, first step is I have to get back into college. They have to take me back. I had not parted on good ways with my school because of my addiction. So first it was, okay, I have to get back into college. And then it was, I have to, finish my college classes, and then I have to take some more classes in counseling, and then I have to work towards full certification. So I could break that long-term goal down into shorter chunks. And that made it feel much more attainable. And then another tip to use when you're working towards a long-term goal or a short-term goal is we really like visualization and meditation here in WFS. So during those periods of meditation, sitting with the feeling of what do we think it's going to look like when our goal has been met. So during meditation, just sitting, bringing to mind, using my example, like being a WFS facilitator. What do I think that would look like for me to be facilitating a group? What kind of feelings do I expect to get out of that? Both personal and then external. What would that really look like? And really taking the time to really manifest that image in my brain so that I have something really clear to work towards. So those are my ideas for some ways to work on Statement 6. A little more information about Statement 6. I hope you may have heard something that was a little bit helpful. And next week, Judith is going to try again to do an interview for our new personal stories segment. So we'll be just hearing some more personal stuff from women in the program, what has drawn them to the program, kind of what the things that they like about the program are, and um, how they're using the New Life program to make their life not just ordinary, but great. So thank you so much for joining me. Everyone stay safe in the storms, and I will see you all in 2 weeks when we will talk about Statement 7, Love Can Change the Course of My World. All right, thanks everyone. Bye-bye.